It's Accountex 2023, we're in London, and I'm with Rob Cameron from FYI Docs. Hello to you.
Hello, how are you?
We're doing splendid. There's a lot of buzz around this place.
Incredible, I just love Accountex. It's the best show like this in the world, I think.
Have you done a few of them, Rob? Are you a veteran now?
25 years of doing this stuff, so this is next level. Like when you walk in, the energy in the room, the people, the conversations, it's just incredible. So we absolutely love it here.
Now, you've flown over for this, or are you based here now?
No, I come over here 4 times a year, but came over yesterday for this and here for a couple of weeks.
Because our viewers will be picking up on your accent. FYI is an Australian company,
Originally, yeah. So we have 50 people around the world. We're a lot stronger. We've been around a lot longer in ANZ, Australia and New Zealand, but we've got 4 people in the UK, about 1,000 users and growing strongly. So we're global, but with Aussie roots.
And for people that don't know, what do FYI do?
Yeah, great. So we, at our core, are a cloud document management service. So, and probably our point of difference is purpose-built for accountants. So I'm a chartered accountant, so it's the 4th time I've done this iteration of software. So over 25 years, I've had a lot of learnings and made it work the way accountants want to work. And the key elements here is also moving to the cloud. So building a trustworthy system that's super secure, that has a high degree of reliability. And the other part of it that people don't realize, it's not just the software, the ROI, it's not just the security and trust, it's also about onboarding. There's a lot of firms out there who just think of the concept of the change management, the migration of data, and it scares them, and they put it off. So we've spent probably 40% of our R&D has gone into onboarding, data migrations, taking responsibility for that, and checks and balances along the way.
And you'll talk to accountants all the time, Rob. You'll know that the answer to them is not plugging in another bit of software to do a couple of jobs. That's a strategic conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's actually it's a little bit of a point of difference between the ANZ market and the UK is, I don't know why, but in our local markets, firms over the years have started to go, we only have one client list we maintain.
Right.
And what we see over here is a lot more fragmentation, proliferation. So it's really interesting to see it because, as you just said, it's a strategic decision. And you want to be aiming towards having it so that I don't think you want one vendor anymore, I think those days have gone, but you don't want to be maintaining multiple databases. So for us, it's about critical partnerships, integrations, and making it so that you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, well, speaking of strategic decisions, you are over here building up the UK market. Talk to us a bit about your strategy for global domination.
Not global domination, but so overall, what we see as a long-term play, so it takes 3 years, 4 years, it doesn't worry us. So these sorts of decisions are something you do in the long run, you don't do it short term.
Yeah.
And you almost have to wait in the buying cycle when a firm's ready. So you can't push this sort of software onto people. So that's part of it. The other part of it is just building brands, talking to people like yourselves, is actually getting out there, because I think they have to have heard of you. It's a classic B2B sales type.
Not being a well-kept secret.
Yes, absolutely. And they need to have heard of you at least 3-4 times in a considered way before they start to go, well, you're now in my consideration. So building. And
how important is the UK market for you?
Oh, it's massive. So I actually lived over here for 3 years when I was younger, so it's part of my roots.
Okay, but we'll adopt you for that.
I'll claim it. Overall, in terms of size, we see it being bigger than Australia and New Zealand. So in the next couple of years, it's a huge, mature, great market. A lot of consolidations happen, a lot of large, very great firms. That's what we love doing, is working with large firms. We go in and make a massive difference quite quickly. So for us, it's getting out there, building relationships, gradually building up their knowledge of what we do, and then eventually it all comes to pass.
And what is a sweet spot firm for FYI, Rob?
Typically, like we 15 users is a classic sort of sweet spot. We go up to 300-400 users, so that's a very wide sweet spot.
Sure.
But very small firms, we find they don't get the full payback. It's a bit like a very small firm using Salesforce or something like that. It's just not needed so much. So typically it gets up to sort of 15 users, you start to see the payback, and you've got the scale to be able to invest to put it in. And then after that, it goes up to the very large firms, and they absolutely eat it up.
But even the difference between a 15-user firm and a 400-user firm, they're very different, aren't they?
They are, but they, in some ways, ironically, they're not at the end of the day, because they're a bit like army units. They're actually a little bit divided up into various divisions, regiments, and
offices.
Yeah. So, but the main thing is choosing the software that can handle that scale, that can actually have reporting, divisional reporting, that sort of stuff. But at its core, it's about allowing accountants to create great documents, to be able to file documents very easily, and for people to be able to find stuff very easily. And then beyond that, our point of expertise and where we go beyond is process automation, is making it so you can actually go through and do repetitive processes and have the system do part of the work for you.
You've mentioned a couple of times the phrase point of difference. How competitive is this market that you're in? And how do you fare against them?
It's actually heating up. You can feel it, like almost physically. So it's really interesting from last year to this year. We can see there's a lot more movement. It feels like the push to the cloud, even though it's been happening for years, it's starting to gather momentum.
Is that raising all boats, if you like, Rob?
Yeah, I think there's a few elbows out as well.
Okay,
Because people are. I think there's movement.
Are you up for the fight?
Yes. I actually enjoy a good fight. I actually said to my team recently when another player emerged, it's actually a good thing. Yeah. So if people don't have competition, you get slack, that's when mistakes happen. So it's really sharp and
complacency.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What excites you most about this space? Rob, what are you looking forward to?
So one of the things I love, which is a funny thing to say, but I'm a chartered accountant myself from years ago.
I'm sorry about that.
Still am. And I actually love working with accountants. I think they're really good people. So when you do something good for them, they actually tell you, and they're very loyal if you do the right thing by them. So actually working with them and improving their practices is something we love doing.
Give us a read on the market, Rob. What do you see happening out there? We're in turbulent economic conditions, government. We've just got a new king here in the UK. You know all about that. There's a lot going on.
It's massive. So it's interesting. So in the software, like in the B2B SaaS world, in some ways you use that term, the rising tide. In some ways, we're not feeling it as much as potentially some people out there are doing it.
There's been a pullback on VC and PE money, isn't there, as well?
That was pretty crazy. That was crazy stuff going on. We've stayed away from that. We're bootstrapped. We have no debt. Right. So maybe as my chartered accounting background, I look at all that and go, that looks crazy to me. So it's thankfully it's paid off in terms of we're in a situation where we're hiring strongly. But going back to your original comment in terms of the market, what's happening, I think in some ways it's the best of times. Like it's ChatGPT, the excitement factor. The other way is it's pretty full on for people who aren't keeping up with the change. Yeah. So it's about really sort of, for us, it's about not losing your path. It's not getting too excited about something happening. It's just a long-term vision and just gradually going through and executing.
Do you feel it's easier being an accountant now than say it was 10, 20 years ago?
Oh, it's a really tough question because in some ways I think the world's got easier with software technology. On the other hand, there's just more going on. There's more complexity.
There's email now.
Yeah, and there's team challenges. Like everyone says, getting the good team members, things like that is very tough. So
hybrid working.
Yeah. So I think overall probably it's getting more challenging because what's happened is not being disrespectful to the governments, but they add more complexity every year. Yeah. So it just keeps on compounding, like it's getting a bit out of control. So overall, but at the same time, it's exciting because there's actually change happening. Yeah. So you can see the change happening quite rapidly around us, and I personally find that very exciting.
Yeah. And finally, Rob, lots of conversations going on you stand right here. How do you talk to your team about ROI from something like this? How do you say this has been a success because?
So we really put a lot of effort into this in terms of we look at the cost and we ask whoever puts up basically a campaign like this, we call it a campaign, is to say what do you expect the results to be? And not that we hold them particularly in account in a negative way, but just it's very easy, as you know, and you probably have a business yourself, is people very basically spend money but without much stuff.
You can spend a lot of money at Accountex, can't you? Let's be fair.
So we basically look through and say, what do we expect? And then we make sure we have a retrospective on every one of these events. We look back and go, what did we learn? Will we do it again? Yeah. What would we do differently?
Because it's not just about lead gen, is it, as well? Having your brand here is intangible but important.
Yeah, it absolutely there's just no choice but to be here. So we saw it last year. We booked within, I think 2 hours of being here on day one last year. We went, we have to be back here again next year because, I'm not exaggerating, this is very different from our local market in Australia in terms of the war is not won here. There's basically this huge change happening. So therefore, the feeling in the room, you can see everyone's engaged in conversation. It's quite amazing.
Well, you seem very passionate and up for the future. Rob Cameron, thanks for talking to us today.
Thank you very much, Rob. Great.